All right, welcome everyone. Hi. You got through all that stuff. You're all ready for this, right? I'm here to kind of get started. That was just the kind of preamble, right? To like getting into what we're going to be working on today and getting excited about doing this stuff. So I'm your instructor, Chris Becker. Today we're going to be going through a few things. We're going to just kind of open up discussing about what UX is, what we're going to get started on throughout the course. We're going to do a couple exercises to get us loose. We're going to talk about what design and what thinking is and how this all relates that way. We're going to play a little bit with the software to kind of get us all introduced to each other. The desks will not always be like this in this classroom. This is not the me show necessarily. We will be kind of engaging and pulling this stuff out. We'll take a break a little bit through around 15 minutes to let you breathe, get up in the air, but you're not going to be sitting for the rest of the kind of classes we're here. I'm your instructor. My name is Chris Becker. I have a background in graphic design from Colorado State University and a master's degree in media design from the Art Center College of Design in Pasadena. I've been working in UX UI for the last 12, 15 years when they weren't even calling it UX necessarily. Even now, people are like, oh yeah, I'm a UX designer. I'm like, cool. Or they're like, we need a UX designer. And you're like, you know what that person does? No, but we need one. I've worked in places like JPL. I've been teaching in design thinking and UX for just as much amount of time. And I have projects that have been done with Apple and UCI and UCLA Art Center. I call myself a true interaction designer because I made chairs fall down on time to a music video 2 years ago. I don't even know that. Okay, go. I never want to hear that song again. I like their concept, but I don't really like the music that much, but it is what it is. You engage in these things, you help people solve problems. That's really what doing creative work is about and how UX and UI actually is applicable in the world. It's not just computer screens that are in front of us. We will probably spend a lot of time talking about what goes on a computer screen because most of jobs that we know in the world exist there, but there are things like physical interactive engagements that you can activate a store, or there are, making someone buy a suit or rent a tuxedo for their wedding, make that easier, stuff like that. Personally, I really like taking horrendous, terrible solutions and making them more award-winning. Even billionaires who run services like Vulcan Productions. Anybody know who is in charge of Vulcan Inc.? Are you familiar with Paul Allen? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Vulcan Inc. is Paul Allen's big thing. Vulcan Productions is his attribute to try and solve big world problems by filmmaking and storytelling. This was what they had before. It's like a catalog of movies that nobody wanted to check out, nobody wanted to see, and we transformed it into something that was a little bit more interesting, and I can kind of show you what that looks like here. Obviously, they were a film company. You need to, sometimes working with companies that have great content, you don't have to work that hard. You just say, let's just highlight the content that you already have, and they then have a hard time saying, well, what should that be? How does that kind of work? Now, of course, in the modern world, these things all have to live in responsive design, and we'll discuss all of these aspects as we kind of design and build things out. For the last couple of years, I've been working on transforming university sites. You'll see some trends that are happening here. But I was also involved in kind of revamping the University of Denver to something that actually is usable. And when you get into the real working world, you'll understand how sometimes pulling teeth to get them to even do one thing right. This can be very kind of challenging. Now, for us, the point of doing a lot of this is to make some cool stuff, right? That's the goal. That's what we're interested in. That's what we're going to try and do. Now, in this, we have a path, right? Your learning path is what you started. This is where we're started, right at the beginning, right? At the beginning, there might be a lot of anxiety. You might not know what you're going to do. But the goal of this is to really get a new job, right? Who wants a new job? Who wants a better job? Who wants more money? Who wants to work on fun projects? Who wants a better car? Right? Okay, almost it, right? Like one leads to the next, leads to the next, leads to the next, right? It's about opportunity, potentially, right? Now, a new job has a starting place, right? You got to get the skills and know what you're going to do to then have those conversations to see where that works. Now, the fun thing about what this is that you got to start with a goal, right? The goal in these is weekly. Don't look too far ahead. It will drive you nuts, right? Like, concentrate on what is in front of you, build what you need to do, and that will help you in your output. Now, there's goals, right? You escape the dead-end job to, pursue a dream, to create or be able to create, to allow to be fascination, right? Understanding these financial stability, all these things that are goals, all of them have micro steps or little things that you can do along the way. You're here, you've started it. This is part of the path and the journey of doing that. Now, we're here to support you. That's the whole goal. Your goal is our goal. If you get a job, it makes us look really good. So we're like, yeah, we're going to help you along that way, right? Now, for us, that means going out. You can't sit on your tuchus and just expect that someone's going to throw a bunch of money at you. Part of doing this here is relating that, knowing what it means, and building it out. Now, the TAs, me, we're all here to do that. And in that, I want to introduce the TAs, because I kind of just whizzed by them for a second. But they're in the back here, and we'll have you guys stand up and introduce yourselves. And these are support just as anything else.
So my name is Steven. I recently graduated UCI UX just last spring, 2017, self-picked with diploma. But I studied computer science. I specialize in human-computer interactions, so that's why I started with my UX intro. I did some work previously as a UI designer, some client work for startups, and here I am now.
Hello, my name is Evelyn. If you can't hear me, just tell me to pipe up. Sometimes I speak too softly. I graduated from UCI last year with a software engineering degree. I currently work as a UX designer and sales support for several startups. I'm a contractor, and I'm excited to be here.
I didn't get claps, but that's fine. TAs get claps. It's fine. They probably have a harder job than me, honestly. Like that's part of this, right? Now, we take your goals very seriously. We're here to support you, but there's also don't come without having tried to solve something, right? It's not like, oh, we'll give you the answer. This is going to be very hard if you take that approach, right? Now, our premise is that we're willing to put in and take advice, but we want to help you 100% of the way, right? Now, the goals that you have in this program are supported by all of the people that are here. Me, the TAs, the student success managers, there's a lot, your parents, your friends, the person sitting next to you, the guy over there that you haven't met yet. All of us are here in the same boat, we're riding the same thing, and we're all going to be able to support each other. Now, that being said, don't be boring, right? This is fun. This will draw us all down, right? We're all here to kind of engage, be part of the system, be interactive, engaging in the process. And if you're a stick in the mud, everyone will see that and will feel that, and that's not what we're here to do. And that becomes more fun, right? Now, you should be like a kid, right? This stuff is new. It should be sparking your brain. And I can only give you so much content, so much access, but you'll be able to kind of push on this. There's a lot of resources, and we'll talk about this towards the end. A lot of things will be thrown at you, but by storing it, 6 months is a small amount of time. It may feel like a long time, but we really don't have that much time in class even to absorb all this. So sometimes it'll feel like we're moving fast, but you're going to be open to learning new things, and that's kind of key. Now, in this, you're going to face some obstacles, potentially some huge obstacles. But we're here to help. That's what a support system's for. But these obstacles are things like, it's a blank canvas. I don't know what to do with this. It's just there. I don't know where to mark. I don't know where to solve a problem. I don't know what to put on it. I don't know what's there, right? This has plagued artists and designers since the days of creating a rock that was I rolled up a hill, right? Or moved into a cart that made me move my product to market faster. This is why we're here, right? To understand how this blank slate is something that we can think about, relate and solve the community. And that becomes really key. The next is you might just like, maybe I'm not getting it. Maybe I'm dumb. You're doubting yourself, right? Now, doubt is sometimes a really great fuel for some humans, right? It's like, I know I can get past it. I can just use that doubt and move on to the next piece. It should not be a sticking point, right? Doubt is hard, but there is a process that we are going to be running through. So this is why concentrating on the week to week to week will allow you to get past that. If you get stuck, there's opportunities to keep moving, but there is a process that you will see that has outcomes. It's proven. I'll show you and talk about what it is. And by practicing it, you'll see that you'll get better. If you've never done it before, it may feel foreign and you may not understand what's happening. And it might feel really long. How many of you feel like what you got to get to is too far away? Like it would feel like 6 months is like going to be a slog. It's like, oh, I got to come here 3 days a week. What did I sign myself up for, right? Now, the distance is not is the goal, right? The journey is part of what we're going to be having fun in. Knowing where you are in that journey will help you, and then knowing that journey is actually just the starting place into your career and doing some things that are more fun. Building and creating stuff is the end goal of what we're going to be doing. Now, nothing comes easy. So there's some things that I want all of us to kind of, everyone's just like, everyone, take these values and own them, right? Persistence. Keep trying. Don't just stop, right? There's an opportunity to fix things. There's an opportunity to keep going. Be curious about the world. The world changes incredibly fast. The things that we'll teach you now, you may or may not use in 5 years, right? But it's not the point. The point is that the fundamentals and the things that we'll be training here are going to be applicable for anything that you have to learn and for anything that you're going to be doing. And that includes software and all those other tools, right? The industry changes fast. But by having curiosity, by being persistent, you will then grow your self-confidence. And having some confidence in practicing and exploring that other piece, you'll get there, right? Because failure will happen. Any of you afraid to fail?
Yes.
Yeah. People are raising their hands like, you lie. Failure is natural. It's a human relationship. The goal, and we'll talk about this as we go throughout the relationship, but failure is so key to doing user experience design. We have to make assumptions as we move through the process, and we use those failures as a way to learn. The goal is to fail as fast as you can, with as little effort as you can, so that your learning increases exponentially. And then you don't make those mistakes, and you won't make those again, right? By doing that, you then can build things and move them into marketplaces, solve problems for people who don't know how to go through that process, but then also relate them. And that builds on your self-confidence. So be willing to take a risk, put something out that you don't know if you've done it right. This feedback loop will support you, and you'll learn as you keep going. Now, the class kind of distributes itself like this. There's around 60% that we'll do in class. This switches sometimes. Really, it's around more like 50-50, but I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt. If you work hard in here, you may only have to do around 40% out of class. There are some key aspects of out-of-class work that is important for what we do in class. Some of those are things like interviews. Like, you have to go do an interview. You can't skip out on it because we'll be talking about it in the next class as a core component of what we do and how we think. Now, if you skip out on it, you're just going to be hard. You're not going to have insights. You're not going to know what you're going to be doing, but that can be part of some assignments. Also, our homework will be additive. It's not like, oh, it's one thing, and then we're going to do the next thing, and then we're going to do the next thing. Sometimes they are building and iterating on the things that you've already created. So that is key. Kind of keep up and design them. Especially when we get into doing UI design, all that stuff moves up. If we look at the breakdown, there's around, a lot of your participation is going to be in class. You've got to participate in here. There's no sitting in the back, not talking. There's no things that are going to be group related. You're going to be meeting your neighbors and doing that stuff. Our projects are done 50-50. There are 3 main projects in this course. One that happens in the UX section, one that happens in the UI section, and then one happens in the web. And then we have a final portfolio that happens at the end. And the process is what all of your work, all of your assignments, all of your stuff is adding up to. And that is the larger meta story that we'll be capturing and communicating to get a job. I can tell you right now, I don't care what people's UI looks like. They can't tell me why they made decisions and how they got from point A to point B. They don't know what they did. They made it look pretty, or they didn't actually solve a real human problem. And that is more important in what we're designing and how we build. So take that. You can always get better at making it look right. You can always work with some other people, but if you don't know why you're solving the problem that you're solving, that can be very challenging. For us, we have some software tools, and we'll check this stuff a little later, but we're going to be using Illustrator. For those of you who have Macintoshes, we can use some Sketch, Photoshop, InVision. How many of you have ever heard of InVision? Great. We'll do some coding in VS Code, and we'll design some stuff in GitHub and GitLab, and that stuff's going to come much later. I realize that some of that is in the pre-work, but we'll be kind of hitting it a little harder as we get into doing some more kind of tangible code. There's a ton of others. I'll show you how many software tools and how many opportunities there are to learn. Like, if you are software adverse, UX is a very challenging industry, because it's like the tools we teach you now, you may go to a job and have work in something totally different. But if you can't learn a piece of software, yeah, it's going to be very hard to design a piece of software. So there's also that like relationship of building on those things. Now, let's start with a conversation. What is thinking?
Full of thoughts, kind of just throwing things out to inspire new ideas.
Inspire new ideas. Thoughts. What is a thought?
Cognition.
A mental reaction.
A mental reaction?
Interpretation.
An interpretation? Your brain synapses? And you're like, how do you know you had a thought? How do you know you're thinking?
They're all
Do I have to? Thinking. How do we know we're thinking?
by doing.
By doing.
Oh.
You're gonna get UX, really? By doing, right? There's so much of, like, we know we're thinking because we're doing something, right? We're actively making decisions to do something. I'm thinking about taking steps by taking steps, right? A conscious mind is really incredible. Like, if you sit back and think about it, your brain is taking in gigabytes, trilobytes, whatever, the massive amounts of content all at once. And we can, like, focus on me, or on the computer, or on this computer that always buzzes in your pocket, really draws your attention. It's like, pay attention to me. Pay attention to me. Now, why do we think?
Make decisions.
To make decisions. Who do we give the moniker of thinker?
Dreamers, philosophers.
Philosophers. You said dreamers? That guy's got his head at the time, head in the clouds. He's a thinker. Just dreaming up things. Philosophers, right? Why do we give a philosopher the thinking moniker?
Because they come up with ideas that are not thought of before.
Okay. Sounds like a designer.
Yeah.
They also present things that force you to think about the situation as a whole.
Great. They force you to consider a perspective, right? Storytelling, philosophers make you think about ethics and morals, about how humans behave, why those things operate, right? And we give, like, Socrates or Socrates. I always love calling him Socrates. Does anybody know what that's from?
Bill and Ted.
Bill and Ted.
Excellent.
That's excellent. Where do we experience thinking? In your brain? I know, I'm thinking. I'm doing it right now.
In the world.
In the world. Okay? Is everything thought about? No? What's an example of something that's not thought about?
We don't know.
You touch something hot, you move your hand away.
Okay? Yep, your brain knows that really quickly because that's our
Walking.
nervous system.
Walking. Like,
Walking? Well,
you gotta think about where you walk.
You're not thinking about your balance when you're walking usually.
Usually? Okay. Now there's things in our world that we're like, who thought of that? A Norman door. Do you remember? Read that? Like those are not thought about doors, right?
Oh, Norman door. Yeah.
What's a Norman door?
The kind of, there's a handle, right? It's kind of push, pull.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's like a visual cue, right? A signifier.
A door that doesn't work right? Have you ever used a door that you haven't used that you're like, I know how to use this door, and you pull on it and
It doesn't open.
nothing makes you feel dumber than a door, right? You're like, you got all this self-confidence, you're like going into a job and you're like, right? Somebody thought about that, but they thought in a way which made assumptions, right? And then that thought was then ruined or engaged in a different way. Now, René Descartes is famous for saying, "Cognigo ergo sum sum." I think, therefore I am. The essence of consciousness. Human beings have the ability to have self-awareness. So it makes us stand at the top of the food chain. Right? Does your cat have self-awareness?
Probably.
Probably. I was just like, oh, my cat's smarter than me. He's so smug in the corner, just like, ooh, I hate you. No, I love you. No, I hate you. Now, some aspects of how we think are informed by others, right? And just like us in this place, we are going to be extending that level of thinking. Now, everybody, I'm going to have you get out some sticky notes. These are going to be used constantly in this class. So bring your own. Today, I'm going to share some. I want everybody to take a sticky note and write down where you do your best thinking. I got some more. You just need one, but share if you have. Don't just let it linger there. Grab one, pass it around. Maybe. Got him, everybody. Cool. Okay. So what I want you to do is write down where you do your best thinking. Add your name, and then come put it up here around what it's thinking. Get out of your seats. Come place it up here. Now, look at what your other students are doing. If it's the same, just put it near your other person, right? So there's a car, in a park, okay, that's outdoors. Good. Lying in bed. Combine them collectively. Does that make sense? So you're making some patterns based on what other people are doing. Good. The shower. So we got a shower there. Yep.
It's got to be up there.
Mine's got to be up there. On an airplane. I can only be flying.
These are best.
Office. Fine. Okay. Group settings. In the car. Driving.
In bed.
Okay. Oh, add your name. Yeah. Driving. Yep. It's okay if it doesn't have a map. In nature, in the park. Okay. Good. Nature. While trying to sleep in bed. Good. Whoops. While trying, I guess is wrong. While trying. Car, outdoors. Good. What do you have?
Where's the
The shower. Good. Okay. Okay. So this is pretty common, right? You see, like in the shower, in my bed, well, right before I'm trying to sleep, while driving. It's usually like in LA proper, the in the car is very common. There's someone's like in the car one. While sitting on the floor, cross-legged. Okay. They didn't have a name. Who was sitting on the floor cross-legged?
You're gonna single me out, really?
It's very specific. I like it. It's like I can only think while sitting on the floor cross-legged. In an office. Now,
Over my answer too.
let me ask you a question. Would any of you be willing to put that information on your resume?
It'd be a conversation starter.
No, right? You're like, sorry, boss, I gotta go. I gotta go for a ride. I gotta go for a drive. I need to do some thinking. I gotta go. Like, I just need a shower. I gotta go shower. I don't know how to solve the problem. I'm gonna go get in the shower and figure it out. Now, does anybody know why these are common places at which people do their thinking?
Solitude.
Yes. Because you're alone.
The routine.
Yeah.
Routine.
You don't have to think of anything else.
Because you don't have to think of anything else.
There aren't distractions.
There are distractions. Okay? There's comfort. Yes. Right? Now, this has something to do with our subconscious. Right? Our brain is always churning on things that we're trying to solve. And our conscious mind can only spend so much concentration. Just the reality of the world we live. Now, things like the shower, your bed, your car, nature, it allows you to draw those connections. And your subconscious actually comes out into the forefront and you're like, haha! Like in the shower, like, oh my god, there's the solution. I have it, right? I have a friend of mine who has a dry erase board in his shower. Because he codes and he'll like be like, okay, cool, I figured out this thing, and he like comes to it's my favorite. Like, I got it. He like comes in with this whiteboard. It's like, it's still wet, dude. Now, thinking is just part of this. Now, I'm going to take a photo of this, but one aspect of what we're going to be doing pretty regularly is capturing our processes. Right, it's thinking as a group. I'll put this in Slack, but you guys will kind of get a sense of how this works. But we'll make this a habit as we kind of move on. So we're going to move into the next piece, right? Now thinking is really a component of, it's filled by data, right? All the data we have in our world, we see things in our common space, we know that it's there, we find patterns. Human beings are incredibly adept at recognizing patterns. We're better than robots, we're better than, like, we know how to draw these things in, and if we can consume them in the right way, we can do that. If you watch that show, Sherlock,
Yeah.
right? It's all about him like just recognizing patterns in his brain. You got to do drugs and stuff to do that. I don't recommend it. But there's a relationship. There's making connections. Most of knowledge is about drawing connections. How does one connect with the other? What is the cause and effect? What is the outputs that you do? And it's in the service of making decisions. We think to make decisions. And it even becomes a sculpture. Okay? Because it's like, you want to just like, I'm thinking. Concentrate on it. Put my hand on my chin and do that. Now, what is design? You'll see the pattern here.
Intentional arrangement.
Intentional arrangement. Okay. But here, ooh. I like it. I was thinking about that. Your gasps like, whoo. I like it.
A visual way to problem solve?
A visual way to problem solve? Okay. Is all design visual?
No.
Who do we give the moniker of designer? Architects. Okay. Why? My wife is an architect, by the way. She loves this part that everybody calls the designer and architect.
She feels so good.
Why do we give architects the moniker designer?
Start from mapping.
Because they have knowledge.
Because they have knowledge. You guys, you're budding designers. Knowledge, right? By gaining that knowledge, you can solve problems. Yes?
And translate thought into tangible things.
Correct. It translates thought into tangible things. Now, the tangible is really important, though, like that you use that word. Everything that we build is tangible. We will make stuff. Nothing is just a thought. Design understands the world through making, and we will do our thinking through making. If all you have is an idea, it doesn't matter. Nobody cares about an idea. They care about how that idea is translated into the world and built. How do we know something is designed? It exists. Okay? That's like everything is designed. Is everything designed?
Yes.
Yes? Isn't that scary? Isn't that a scary thought? That everything is designed. And then you use something and you're like, God, someone designed this. Right? You ever had that thought? You're like, oh. Like, honestly, being a UX designer can be very challenging because you're just like, the world is so crappy. Why? Oh. You're just shaking your fists all the time. How do we know it's designed? It exists. It's useful. It's usable.
Well, it could be
It's solving a problem. Okay? Solves a problem. Design. Yeah, we could say it solves a problem. Is it expensive? Do we know it's designed because it's expensive? Not necessarily. If you're familiar with that store, Design Within Reach, I like to call it Design Without Reach. It's like, oh, I love it so much, but who's paying $4,000 for a chair? I want one so bad. It's just on there. My wife won't let me do it. It considers its surroundings. Great. Where do we experience design? Everywhere. Okay? Even in our toothbrush. Yeah. My father is a dentist, so I appreciate it. So we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to write over here this time to do this. But we're going to write down one thing that you think equals design in our world.
Like that exemplifies design?
Yes. That exemplifies design. Yeah, I know. You're like, I don't want to.
Don't overthink it.
No, don't overthink it. Literally, like the first thought you had, like design this thing. Oh yeah, people.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Ooh.
I like that one. Especially being an urban.
iPhone. Sorry.
Hey, Chris.
Yeah.
Have you ever had this conversation turn into a religious debate?
Yes, I should have.
It's getting pretty spiritual.
You run into a lot of megalomaniacs.
No, I mean, with architecture, you definitely run into a megalomaniac at some point. But when people say everything, you're like, okay, well,
Creation.
that is, yeah.
Or like
Yeah.
humans, like
Human. I mean, we're getting to a point where everything can be designed. That's more of a, that's a bigger,
yeah, it's a bigger question.
it's a bigger question. We're not here to solve that one. We're here just to solve some basic things. Ooh, a traffic light? Nice, that one's gonna be next to cities. Freeways, apps, iPhones.
Do we have to put our names on these?
Oh, it is fine. Landing pages, it's websites, fashion, cars, technology, chairs, aesthetics and showrooms, a pen, software. Okay. So we have the things that we use, right? There's a lot of cars up here. How many people think a car is designed? Right? Some of them not as good as others. True, right? Some have terrible interfaces. Does anybody remember the knob of death? Ever heard of the knob of death? It was actually inside of a BMW, which is pretty interesting. It was an interface. They like spent all this time. You had to twist. And you had to learn, and people were crashing their car constantly. Can you imagine? It's like a car company's like, I now have to make an app. I don't know how to do that. We don't know the way at which our transportation systems, things that we design in our world, are radically shifting. Southern California is a perfect example of where the car, a car-centric city, is now reinventing itself through applications. Uber. Anybody take Uber to get here? I know he did this one. Right. We think differently about how our cities, our traffic lights, our freeways work. Consider if we have robotic cars. Is a traffic light necessary if a robot drives a car? No. I was in Vietnam once, a long time ago, and they have traffic lights, but no one uses them. And they ride around on like these scooters, like almost everyone is on scooters, and it was the craziest like experience that I was there with my identical twin brother, and we were like walking across the boulevard, and it was the craziest experience I've ever had. And this old gentleman like showed us how to get across the street. Don't stop, and you just move like slowly, and everyone goes around you. If you stop, you get run into. And you're just like everything is like a river, and the tons of people get through. Everyone kind of figures out where they're going, and that essentially is how a robot would work through an intersection. Doesn't need to stop. They can continue moving because they can figure out distance. They would run equally, and you could just all of this city infrastructure, all the ways we think, all the ways we engage in how our places, our tangible relationships are designed, is up for flux. All because of one component, the car. Have any of you seen Who Framed Roger Rabbit? Mm-hmm. Anybody know what the undertext of that movie is about?
The whole thing was about illegal music, right?
Correct.
Oh yeah, it's like bankrupting the trolley system to force people to buy cars to use the highway that they're building.
Correct. Otherwise known as the city of Los Angeles.
Chinatown's about that too.
Correct.
Urban sprawl because of water.
Urban sprawl. They're all connected. There's a really great documentary if you guys are interested in the city of Los Angeles and their surrounding areas called The City Plays Itself. LA Plays Itself, and it's this like 3-hour monotone. It's actually really funny. But he goes over this relationship how LA actively destroyed the public transit system to encourage freeways. The first freeway in the entire country was the Pasadena freeway between downtown LA and Pasadena. It's weird. It has like right turns onto the highway.
The two?
The 110.
Oh.
The 110 up to Pasadena. It's the something free fairway or something up to it.
The Parkway.
The Parkway, exactly. Now, when we think about design, there's a lot of things that are in it, right? Cars, iPhone apps, technology, desks, chairs, fashion. But what is there is it's a calculated risk. It's understanding how to look at the world to translate stuff. It's iterative. We do it over time to understand how we're going to solve those problems, and we make to solve problems. We don't know what they are yet because the world is changing constantly. So we're always having to find new problems, right? It's hard to know where the next problem with transportation is going to come when new things are changing it all. It's a creative way in which to approach and solve problems. Visual, out there, and it's connected to the systems that we use and we engage in every day. Things like Slack are not new. The telephone has been around for a long, long time. And Slack is essentially just an extension of communication channels that we've been using forever. Right? Now, relating those systems make us learn, make us understand, and make us translate how we communicate, how we work, where we go, what we do to be different. And part of what we're going to be doing throughout this process is going through and solving problems with people. Right? There's a problem space, challenge, what we're trying to understand, what we think we know, how we can define what that problem is, and the solution space. Ideate, prototype, and test. And we'll be going over this a little bit more, and we'll be going through this process a few times in this course, but we'll be able to kind of translate that. I'm just going to document this real quick. Have any of you ever used the Post-it app? No. I recommend it. I actually don't even have it. I'm not speaking. I'm not talking to talk and walking to walk. But it will pull these into individual sheets and you can translate them. Kind of nice. But of course, Post-it has to get into the app game, and it's like we just make paper. Can you imagine working there? You're like, oh god, we got to make another app. Like, don't we make paper that just sticks to stuff? Isn't that our big thing? Now, in the process of solving problems, right, we're going to move from user needs, sketches around how to solve ideas, prototypes, and then market-ready solutions. And throughout this course, we're going to be engaging in these kind of things constantly. Right? Our 3 projects even follow this, from paper prototyping to high-fidelity prototyping to web prototyping. You'll follow the cycle through to know that these skills are applicable for solving big problems, and it moves from a problem space, I don't know what we're solving yet, through to a story that you can tell that has a solution. That becomes key. Now, for us, this leads us into our first break. So we have 15 minutes. Come back. I guess it's like right around, I was 3 minutes off my time. But come back at 8 o'clock. Any questions? I'm here. Yes.
I was wondering, you probably have a lot of students, but do you remember Patrick McCrory? He wasn't in this, he was like interaction design.
It sounds familiar, but I'm kind of a crazy person.
Oh yeah, I think because like, he was probably like the only white guy in this class. He had like, I think he might have had BuzzFeed at the time.
It sounds familiar,
Yeah.
but I don't know.
Okay,
Do you know him or something?
Yeah, I know him, so yeah.
Potentially.
Hi, how are you? I work with. Yeah, let's go chat.
It's going to be mostly practical. Yeah. The reading is like always. The reading is always the undercurrent. Article. But it's not. Most of the homework will be executing stuff. Yeah, there's tons to consume. So like all these things that we share. Oh yeah.
Do you want to create? What do you plan on sharing on Slack?
Oh, I'm gonna do that right now. Cool.
I'll need to write more Clark.
Oh yeah, I should have shared them.
Too small.
I have markers.
Maybe, yeah, the Sharpies are easier to read than pen.
Uh-huh. Oh, who am I?
I'm Nick.
This is Nick.
I work with Chris on the curriculum for this and other programs.
Nice. He's just making sure that you execute it correctly.
Taking notes, helping out.
Taking notes. He's just making sure you're good.
I designed
Right.
this. Now how are you using it?
Yeah, we'll have people that just
Chris.
Trilogy and UX here we want to support.
Okay.
How this works. It's not a one-man show. If I can put it that way. Nothing is in this world. You have to
It's too bad that Starbucks is on Thursday.
Seven is an unfortunate time to close.
Yeah.
work off competition.
Yeah, have them open it.
They're a business. They know they can keep making money. They know that that's worth their time.
Actually, you can close this up and just come back for 15 minutes between 7:45 and 8. You'll make like at least $100.
Yeah, he's on East Coast time.
That's what I was saying.
Right? All right, I'll call that sort. I'll call that.
doing? There is. Yeah. Well, we're gonna check. Exactly. So I have a contact. We do. So everyone gets a free. everybody back? No, missing one.
Oh, I guess she left.
So we have everyone?
Yeah, I hope it's not me.
There's always one that's just like, I don't like it. I'm gone. It's totally fine. I mean, we would prefer you be here, as we said before, but that's what it is. So what we're going to do now is we're going to do a software check just to make sure that everybody's on the same page. We have the tools that we're going to talk about. This is a graph of the type of tools that is available to UX UI designers. There's a great blog I'll put in the chat here called prototyper.io, and it's essentially an analysis of all the UX UI tools that you can use to design stuff. Some analysis in here. But we're going to be using InVision, XD. The irony is this doesn't even have Illustrator and Photoshop on it because they just make the assumption that you have to know those tools to do any of this other stuff that's out there in the marketplace. Now, knowing that these are other tools, I don't care if you play with them or if you use them to solve problems, but we will stick to a few that we have in here that are core to that. And part of why this is important is that the tools change, but we need to kind of keep some semblance of learning from each other, knowing what tools we're using. We're going to mostly use some Illustrator. Photoshop is there as a support mechanism, though personally I think that Photoshop being used so prevalently in web design is kind of a falsity. Like, it was never designed for that purpose. It was only has been adopted by web designers because they didn't learn any new tools, and it's in my opinion, is a very bloated piece of software. But that's all of Adobe. Want to get my opinion? If you have a Mac, Sketch is a really great resource. I think they actually designed it in UI designers' workflow and how they actually think. So you'll see some of the things that they've done. It's fundamentally makes maintaining bigger systems a little bit easier. But Illustrator, you can do some of the same things, and Illustrator is honestly adopting a lot of the new tools because so many people have been ditching their software that they're having to update, which is totally fine. XD is a great kind of interactive software. There's some things that work really great about it, but it's not. Personally, I think there are other things in InVision and Sketch and these things that we'll use to do that. But again, tools that are there to help visualize, we will kind of explore and engage in. So I'm going to go around. How many of you have Creative Cloud installed? Anybody not have Creative Cloud installed? Not yet? Okay. So we will be using these tools. So get going on that. It's fine. It takes a minute. Adobe and their massive file sizes. Mm-hmm. Do. But get started on that. Adobe.com and Creative Cloud. It will be kind of a foundation for those pieces. If you want to check out Sketch, if you have a Mac, it's $100. It's really quite simple, and there's some great tutorials that I'll also put in the Slack channel later. And then we'll be using InVision. Some of you would raise your hand with InVision. How many of you have used InVision before? Okay, couple hands up. We're going to be using this kind of prototyping interactive software that makes clickable prototypes as ways to manage, to upload links, to share workable documents. We're not going to be doing a lot of just single one-offs. It's going to be flows. All of UX and UI is actually built in sequence, so we'll have to kind of display that. But it's also a really great, useful tool for leaving feedback, giving notes, following workflow, and then in your teams you'll be able to kind of collaborate. So essentially a really good collaborative tool. We have negotiated on your behalf to give you free access to unlimited prototypes for your duration of doing this program through InVision. So I'm already saving you money. Look at how that works. And then we'll also download Craft, which is a set of plugins that work for both Photoshop and for Sketch that are really useful for making your life more efficient and doing those things that are much more useful. And I think they're going to be coming out with some Illustrator plugins as well. So they're kind of useful tools. But what I want us to kind of do, just to make sure that everyone has these things, any of you have, there was one that didn't have Adobe, everybody else I think did. If you do those. Who has Sketch or wants to have Sketch? 1, 3, 4.
I just got it yesterday. Also, the InVision, you said that we have, what if we already
Well, you'll have 3 projects for a month.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, this is a relatively new output that we've kind of engaged. Usually they offer free unlimited prototypes for students that have an EDU email address, but I imagine none of you have EDU email addresses, so we were negotiating essentially like our cohort gets that for the duration of that. But part of that is we have to do a thing. So what I want you to do is I'm going to send out a Google Doc. Oops. Let me just grab this link. Okay, so go to the first. If you don't have an account for Envision, go to envision.com and sign up for an account.
Oh, we need permission to go into the Google Doc.
They just showed you how to do that, and I didn't actually change that link for you. So let me do that really quickly. But if you don't have an account yet, so if you haven't signed up for Envision, go do that right now. Go to Envision, create an account, use your whatever email you want to do, and then what I'll do is I'll share out this with a shareable link. I apologize for that. Oops. Why did you just open this? Share advanced anyone with this link. Anyone can edit. Okay, there you go. That one has the anyone can do it. Envision's link is here. Envisionapp.com. Envision is a really great tool. They actually have a software suite that's coming out relatively soon called Studio, which is showing promise in the world. I'm surprised that they're doing it, but at the same time, you'll see that every 6 months it feels like a new flashy new software for UX UI comes out. But we'll be using this as a kind of hub for maintaining, sharing content, building prototypes, working in teams together, and engaging. And this is a great feedback tool, and some of these tools, as I was saying before, my logon, which I have at the top of that Google Doc, is christopher.becker@artcenter.edu. So I still have an edu email, so I could get that free access. But essentially, I have tons of prototypes from students and access. You will be kind of doing this to build them out. Yes.
I was going to say we were given a UCI address for that.
Oh, you were. I didn't know. Most universities don't do that. If you did, it's great. You can go to the. There is a login that's for. Actually, just Google it. The education sign up through Envision. It'll send you to an education place, and then you can sign up through that cycle. That might make it easier. If you don't, that's fine. Or you want to use if you already have an account and you already want to do that, place your email in this Google Doc, and then I can kind of have your account upgraded to that output. I know having multiple accounts can be a nightmare when it comes to running that stuff. Has everyone done that? Anybody stuck? Anybody I don't want to use Envision. I hate it. I don't like it. I don't like that software. I get get it. Like, there's tons to not like about some of this stuff, but we'll be engaging in it. There, from a prototyping and building perspective, thinking around how stuff works, InVision is the lowest common denominator to get you up to speed the fastest. So you don't have to learn a lot. Anyone can kind of engage in it. We'll build them from both low fidelity to high fidelity, and like maintaining and understanding systems. There's some great tools that we can plug in and how this stuff works. I'll give you guys a couple minutes. Everybody done with that? Good? Okay. If you run into any problems, just Slack me, or we'll kind of get this obtained. The guy usually takes a couple of days to kind of collate them all together, but you'll see that your account will move from like provisionary or just like one, because I think they offer one free prototype, and then, or if you signed up for a month for, I think it was $12, build a few prototypes. But we'll upgrade that for you. But we're going to start with a quick kind of icebreaker exercise that is around kind of getting to know each other, relating this, and we'll stand up and get to know each other, as we kind of didn't do that at the very beginning, but that's why we're here. We'll start that. All of us are here together, and so what this exercise is just a little bit of putting some personality together. So I want everyone to open up Illustrator. If you don't have Illustrator, I guess you could. You got it's doing this thing. I love that you're just like downloading like gigabytes off the school Wi-Fi. You're like, I'm just doing it at home. I'm not paying for that on my data. I'm doing it in school. So open up Illustrator. The TAs will be slacking out an Illustrator file called Polaroid template. We're going to be like adding some context and putting it into the Slack channel for what we do. It's a picture of yourself. And you've probably never been told in class, like, go to Facebook and choose a photo of yourself. But I don't care where it comes from. Grab something that kind of means something to you, and a food that you like, and we'll composite them together and put them into the Slack, and then we'll go around and share, introduce ourselves, share our thing, and we'll do this in the Slack channel. That make sense? Okay. So I'm going to show you how to do this really quickly. It's relatively simple procedure. If you're in Illustrator, I've already grabbed some photos. This is me and my identical twin brother. Now you kind of know that. He lives in Australia, and we surf together. I surf regularly. So I'm going to combine things about the ocean and the food from the ocean. So I really like oysters. I used to not, and they're like an adult food for me. So I really appreciate adult foods. And now it's just like I get to enjoy riding on the ocean. I get to enjoy eating the ocean, and that becomes part of what I'm going to show you how to do. Now, here's a quick little image. I'm going to crop this image with the rectangle box. You can just draw something over yourself that's close. And by selecting both and right-clicking, I use Control-click, you can make a clipping mask. Making a clipping mask just cuts things out of Illustrator. If you've never done that before, you just learned a new skill in Illustrator. Look at learning new things today. That's what you get. And then we're just going to place this stuff into the output. If you need to modify your original clipping mask, you can double select it and you can move things around. You can scale your images. And this has a layering up ability, and now I can kind of see that stuff works in here. Does that make sense? We can do the same thing with the food. By double clicking, you get into the layering of that object, so it kind of recognizes its opportunity. I'm going to rotate this. If you get towards the edge, you can rotate your content. You can make it so, okay, I want that thing to be relatively straight. I grab a box and fill in the top section of this. The rectangle does not have to be filled at which to create a clipping mask. Voila. Now you could like fix it up a little bit. I'm gonna crop my brother out of there just because you guys don't need to see him. Yes, of food. I mean, if you're really against putting food, you could just put something you really like. I think your food was relatively easy enough to do that with. Okay. If you hold down Shift and Option, that like constraint, like never stretch a photograph, either vertically or horizontally. By holding Shift, it constrains the proportions as you drag and you use things. And voila, Polaroid. Now I'm going to export this. One thing that's important in when designing and using Illustrator or any of these things is you don't want to ever leave a layer that just says layer 1. You always want to label your layers. Most of this is sometimes you're not the only one who's going to touch these files necessarily, and especially if you're working in UI, you are not the only one who's ever going to touch them. So file maintenance becomes a huge aspect of like kind of doing this. So I'm going to call this first layer Polaroid. Images. This is also important in your artboards over here. Artboard, this is something that I think Illustrator could use some help with because it just like forces you to do all this extra things. Like as you create artboards, it shouldn't just label them artboard 1, 2, and 3, and 4. You want to label this because when you export to PNG, your artboard becomes the name of the PNG file. So this would be Chris Becker, Icebreaker.
And it has to fill the whole Polaroid, or no?
If it doesn't fill the whole Polaroid, it's not the end of the world. One. Okay, so now I have my artboard labeled. I have my layer that's there, so I know what I'm working with. You could have made multiple layers to put your images and stuff on, but we'll kind of talk about that as we move on. But I'm going to export this. Save for web. Where's that? Export for screens. You can establish the scale. Just 1x is fine. This is useful when we'll get into like designing screens for Retina and all these other things that you will have to export in multiple sizes. But for our purposes, we have a PNG. It's this artboard that you're going to be exporting. It should have your name, the output, and we're going to export this artboard. Choose a place to put all of your work for this class. So I've created a folder called UX UI. I have a folder here that I'm also going to be, that says 1x. And I can put it in there. And this should be, do that. Now, it created it, right? So I'm going to put this into the Meet Us Slack channel. Meet Everyone Slack channel. And I'm going to drag my PNG into here. Yes.
It worked earlier. I finally got it to connect earlier.
Okay.
Now it's disconnected again and I can't get it.
You can get it connected. Okay. Let's did you try signing up as a guest?
There's no guest connection from trying to connect well.
Okay, there's a in the intro. There's you need to register your computer.
Yeah,
Did you do that already?
Yeah.
Do you have that link? Because you'll have to go back. I don't know. Potentially, like.
I know, but I can't access internet at all to get into that link.
Okay. Let's.
I don't know why it connected earlier and now it went back out.
And then it went back out. Okay. Try going to. Turn your Wi-Fi off and turn it back on. I don't know. I'm like, I feel like an IT guy. I'm like, just turn it off and turn it back on again.
Stupid IT right now.
Click the photo and then there's like a, oh sorry.
I'm just gonna restart my computer.
Crop in, or should be up top.
You'll learn in Illustrator. There's multiple ways to do the same task, which can be frustrating. Like there's cropping, there's clipping masks, and there's other things. Cropping is a destructive method. It actually deletes the pixels.
Which is what I want.
Clipping masks is a non-destructive format in how you use the software suite. Non-destructive is how you should be working as much as you can, unless you know that you want to delete aspects of that.
I mean, were we supposed to save it as a certain name before we export it?
Yeah, just make sure it's not your name, but it's Julia.
Okay, so how do you want us to, label
Label the artboard
Yeah.
with your name in Polaroid icebreaker.
Okay.
Is that getting closer?
No, I just restarted the computer.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not familiar. I mean, I know like internet not working can be very frustrating. We'll get there. Oh yeah. Circle. Like it. Is that pizza? Good. I don't think there's any really great way to take a photograph of a pizza and make it seem appetizing. No. Like my favorite are those pizza pants. Have you seen those?
Yeah.
Whatever. They make the most ridiculous things in the world. Yeah. But it's just like slice of pizza on a pair of pants. And also like where them out? You're like, really? It's Tuesday. We're in pizza pants? Like, what's going on? That's not confidential.
Yeah.
I can go back to us. Everybody getting this? Everybody needs help?
I don't want to admit it.
Okay.
So could I just do this?
Yes, you can.
All right.
We'll just have you stand up.
Yeah,
and
I'll
just
draw
it.
it.
You can draw it. Take your phone. You can put the drawing in the flat.
Oh yeah, I guess I can do that.
Yeah, just draw it. Improvise.
We drop it in hashtag resources? Or?
No, in the hashtag meet everyone.
What?
In
Yeah, that's pretty good.
yeah, in meet everyone here. There's one. Okay, cool. We got balloons. We got some more pizza. Too much pizza. You put pizza in there too. You can like pizza. It's fine. Don't feel like you have to use only pizza. Okay, there you go.
Sorry. Got the image. Got the what was the other image?
Well, you have sriracha, that's your food? Yes. Yeah, that's fine. Just put it in the space.
Actually, I had another
Sriracha, it's really good. Yeah, it's totally fine. Yeah, drop it. Just crop it into the space of the Polaroid, and then export it and put it on. Okay. So we just did it. It's just us.
Okay, and then.
Yep. Good. Fine. We'll start to see these things as we like crop them together and move them. Yes.
Draw a.
No. So you wouldn't just
if you want to crop it, you can decide. So, and same thing with open, but also just the dimensions aspect ratio.
Okay, so you can select.
So you can see how that's like a good
And you can either cut it.
you want to.
So that's like crop.
It's cropping.
So
It's a way of cropping, but it doesn't destroy the
doing that upside down.
So
You want this image in your focus as well. So you can cut it out, get rid of that whole X, and you can just paste it.
which is it also tells you what button it says if you want to.
So like if you drag it off the internet, it works the same way. You hold on to the single map and do that. You could also use a second window.
We have this
And then if you
want to say these two are
so you can send on Fox to the image of your Yeah. Yeah, if you've finished and there's people next to you that are still working on it, that your neighbor can help in like little things. I'll come around as you need it, but like share, show what you're doing. How many of you have posted to the Slack channel already? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay.
If anyone feels like volunteering,
Yeah. You'll take them out. I'm free. You're looking for some help. Okay.
Of course it wasn't letting me do it. I'm good. I was like, why don't
Okay,
I have
yeah, you can paste it in there, and then you can scale like this is your artboard.
We're
Right?
just getting to know each other
You
here.
just need to resize it
Google images.
different from mine.
into the folder. I have a older version. We're gonna get close, and then if you needed to crop them differently, you're like, oh, I really want. I think you see I'm holding shift to like maintain the size of that. Let's say this I wanted actually to change it. How I did it by using the rectangle tool. I'll ask for that.
It didn't work.
Let's say I'm like, I only want to change it. You can drag a box to the top of the image. By selecting both, if you right click where you get a new role, you can then make a clipping. This then puts this image to this on the outside, so you can trust it. I need it. I want it. Now this one scale over to now, if you wanted to like increase that size, use the layers, you'll kind of do that. That makes sense? Cool. Now, when dragging images, make sure that you're holding shift because it won't stretch the image. And that becomes an easier way to do that. Alright? Oh, okay.
I will watch you switch the page. I select the images and try to
Yeah.
This right now, I'm remembering to listen to the discussion. I feel a little rusty right now. Alright, so I just
Yeah, are people getting close to done? Is that why chattering's happening? It's like, oh, people are talking. People are talking. Oh, there we go. Yeah, photo. Yeah, see you next week, or see you later. You're not being here next week. Great. Okay, so people that are still working on it, fine, keep doing it. We're just gonna start going through, and when I come to your name, I just kind of want you to stand up and tell me about yourself. This is an introductory to the class. We're all here together. We're gonna eventually be able to ditch the name tags. They'll be useful for a little bit, but We're here to kind of introduce each other. So let's have Evelyn go first. You did this, which is great. You already introduced yourself, which is fine.
That's a picture of ice cream. It's at Nitrolato. We had this ice cream and green tea set that was really great. So it made for a really good boomerang on Instagram. And that's a headshot of me at the Women in Tech conference at Long Beach.
Great. Ice cream, her doing stuff in tech. Perfect. Next. Your day. Yeah.
So the shirt's from a place called the Superstore. It's a Chinese restaurant in San Francisco, and the dish is tea leaf salad.
Great.
Chris.
Kasam?
Can we do, I'm curious, can we do why they're here too?
Oh, yeah, that's
Your
fine.
background and why you're here. Oh.
Yeah, since we know why the TA is
We
here.
know why
She's being paid. The TA is here to help. Well,
My background is in media, education, and technology, and I've done different startups related to that. But I'm doing this because I want to take really technical skills like UI UX and be able to apply that towards what I'm doing in the future.
cool. Great. Welcome. Oops, I'm back. Kasim? Yeah. You guys are fat. You're the three that have the first thing you've done. You're like, ah, this is fast.
I'm a computer engineering graduate student. I graduated from Australia.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm here in the UX UI to it's actually just I'm interested in this in design and everything. It was like a part of my bachelor degree. I just wanted to continue doing it.
Great. Welcome. Okay, next we have Julia Kang.
Hi, I'm Julia. So my degree is in psychology,
Okay.
but I didn't want to go through counseling, and I kind of took like a year weird hiatus of like, oh my god, what am I going to do? I always loved, graphic design, but I never really, pursued it. I think it was more of an intimidation, but now I'm like 25, I have to do something with my life that like really matters to me, and I want to be able to support the life that I do want. Like I surf too, but I can't afford a surfboard. Like I want to do product photography, but I can't afford a macro lens. But I want to do something that's creative, so it would be nice to work for like something like Huge or IDEO. It's something similar to IDEO, but in LA because I love LA.
Great. There's plenty of that. And your favorite food is steak?
No.
No, that looks like ramen.
Yeah, like so. I googled soba, but that looks really cool. So.
Got it. April?
It's me. I'm April, and I also have a psychology background. And I came here because I actually just graduated back in May, and I want to try to figure out where I want to go next. And I figured that this would be a great skill to have, and it could be related to psychology as well. And the food in there, it's tofu pudding, and if anyone wants to try it, you can go to Meat Fresh at Diamond Jamboree. It's really good.
Yes. Yeah, it's like it's just giving suggestions of where to go in the town. You want good thing? I got it. I got you here. Okay. Sorry. If I butcher names, I'm.
It's hard. H is on silent, we'll say.
H is unsilent.
Yeah.
Don't pay attention to the H's. Nobody cares about them.
It's pronounced differently in my language, which is Farsi, but for you, H is not silent. So, my bachelor's degree is on computer engineering.
Okay.
My master's degree is information technology, computer networking. And why I'm here because I've been web developer and website designer for years. Now I want to be, designing everything, like all kinds of products. And that's it.
Great. when we get into the web part, people will be like, hey, help me, help me. Which is great. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
And you have carrots.
Because I like to be vegetarian.
Awesome. Perfect. Okay, Gary?
Yeah, I'm Gary. I graduated Kelsey Fullerton with a studio arts degree, and I got a job out of that as a photo retoucher. So that's kind of the reason why I'm here. I kind of want to skip off of that to be something still in the creative field, but makes more money. I'm not going to pursue that.
Pizza. Great. Welcome, Gary. Since you've been doing photo retouching, you know Photoshop pretty well,
Yeah.
which is great. Laszlo?
Yeah, Laszlo. I'm Laszlo. I'm actually in the parking business, nothing to do with UX UI, but I've always been interested in designing. My dad's a graphic designer and an artist, so I've always done stuff with him. That's why I'm here. My favorite food is Chinese food.
Chinese food. Great. Welcome. Matthew?
That's me. My background is product design. I went to Castle Long Beach for industrial design. I'm trying to use this to strengthen that career, but also open other paths in UX and UI.
Awesome. Welcome.
Thank you.
He used the circle, which is like profile. You use the circle. It's a profile. Oh, I went the wrong way. Aaron?
So, I'm Aaron. I just graduated UCI this spring 2017, did art degree. So, art degree, minor in visual arts. So, I did photography and minor in visual arts. So, kind of did like photography, graphic design. So, here to hopefully more stuff like creative field. Yeah, and my favorite foods were cheeseburgers. I did like Five Guys in and out. I don't know if like everyone has any personal preference. I know some people like Five Guys, some people don't like In-N-Out, but I don't know. Pretty sure they think so.
Cool. Welcome.
Nice jacket.
Oh, thank you.
Sick, dude.
Yeah,
Yeah.
too.
Roy?
Oh, hi. Yeah, actually my name is Hongju, or you guys can call me Roy.
Okay.
And I have a master's degree in computer graphics from RIT. Yeah, actually I've been working for e-commerce company for a long, long time, and the reason why I'm here is, actually I'm trying to find a new job in a better pay and better environment. Yeah, I had some interviews for like big company and small company last year and this year, but unfortunately no offer yet. So yeah, I'm trying to learn something new, or try to know what people are doing in other companies, or in school right now because I graduated like a long time ago. So yeah, that's why I'm here.
Great. Welcome.
That's me. My name is Julian. I brought my laptop today, so I got to do some sketching. I just graduated from UCI with a bachelor's in psychology. Did an internship, therapy and stuff. It's not for me. And I actually took a class at UCI with like human interaction and design. And so I want to pursue that, so I'm not in the service industry for those who know it.
Great. Welcome.
Thank you.
There's a means, there's a way, right? You're like, I don't have my computer, but
I like talking.
great. Here we go. I think that's pretty clear. It was a clear drawing of a taco. Anybody confused by? I'm going to make a point that like if you're like adverse to sketching, I don't care. That we're going to be doing a lot of it, right? Because like visual thinking is part of getting the ideas out quickly, and that's going to be part of what we're going to do. And fundamentally, drawing on a computer is the same thing as drawing on a piece of paper. It's exactly the same. Christopher?
Hey guys, Chris. I have a background in programming, design, and psychology, and I'm here to bring all that together and reinvent the wheel.
Cool. He likes fries. French fries.
Who doesn't?
Who doesn't? That's a good point. Shake?
Yes.
Yeah.
My name is Shake. I've been working in the fashion industry as a graphic designer for about 4 years now. It's kind of weird. I went to Europe for the first time in the summer in August, and I came back fired up, and I felt like I needed a new challenge. I wasn't being challenged enough at work, and I don't know if it's other companies, but my company is very lax, you could say. So I mean, I don't really feel pushed, and I'm at a point where I'm just kind of coasting, you know, and I know I can kind of provide stuff to kind of challenge myself, but I remember years back, I even told people that I wanted to get into UX, but never really pursued it. But then I kind of encountered, surprisingly on Facebook, I found an ad for the UCI Bootcamp, and I just clicked and just went for it. And everything just kind of aligned. Felt good.
I'm like, Facebook ads work.
Yeah.
I'm like, what?
I was surprised, man.
They're successfully? I keep seeing all this, like, all this stuff with the Russia thing, and I'm like, who pays attention to Facebook ads?
Paid for by rubles, man. That's what I thought. That's what I thought.
Yeah, earns in them ruble dollars. I get that. Yeah, I get it.
But yeah, that's why I'm here. So I'm very excited. And yeah, that's me. I'm doing a lot of firsts this year. I went to Yosemite for the first time. It's actually this weekend. Just the last hurrah, you know, kind of just to unload. And I'm all good now. I'm clear mind, focused.
Great.
So, and okonomiyaki is my favorite. And no one knows. Anybody know okonomiyaki?
Okonomiyaki.
It's very slept on. Yeah, it's very slept on. Nobody knows about it, but it's an amazing.
I'll take it.
Yeah.
They're like, you're like, I don't know. You just have to go, right?
They call me description is like a Japanese pancake, but it's more than that. It's like you can have
It's
meat.
so much more. It's so much more than that. I get it.
It's ramen, but this is it's all good. So
I get it. I love like LA is one of the only places that you're like no food is like you get things from all over the place.
Yeah,
it's never
exactly.
like I like potatoes and steak. I grew up in Colorado, so it's like a lot of white people in mountains. I love this place. It's like get stuff that you can't get in other places, which is awesome. Nina?
Nina, yes. Hi everyone, I'm Nina. So my background is in marketing. I work at a real estate research firm, and I've been there for about 4 years. And through the job, I've been exposed to graphic design and website design, and I found out that I really loved it, but I've never been formally trained in it. So this is my first time just like actually not just learning it on the job, but learning best practices. So I'm very excited. And I like pizza and euros and Leonardo DiCaprio.
I'm Heather. I have lived in St. Louis for a long time, and my parents live here. And that's a picture of me hair modeling. That's a picture of borscht that I made. It's not necessarily my favorite food, but I really love cooking. I'm traditionally a graphic designer, and I saw a interaction designer speak at an AIGA conference that's a few years ago. And I thought, like, wow, I could really get into that sort of thinking. And so I was telling my dad about it when I was visiting. And then he did a Google search, and I found this program. I got, did the proficiency test, got in just like all of you, and here I am. Yeah.
Welcome.
Thanks.
People move.
Yeah.
They find new opportunities, and it's great. So welcome. Matt?
Yeah, my name's Matt. I work in IT. I have a degree in computer information systems. I've been doing that for like 4 years, and wanted something new. My company has a product team, so I spoke to someone, and they were like, check it out. So same thing. I looked up on the website, and next thing I know, people were calling me, asking me to take the test. So here I am.
All you need is that little nudge, right? It's like, who's calling me? What sales? What? They work? Yeah.
That's eggplant parmesan. It's amazing.
Parth?
My name is Parth. I majored in medical anthropology and global health, so a little out of my element here. My roommate in college majored in human-centered design and engineering, so he kind of recommended this to me. I did a little Facebook usability study and just, got paid for it, which is nice. And then next thing you know, Facebook ad. And gave a call, took a test.
Man, our targeting is really working. Maybe I'm all wrong on this. Maybe I'm all wrong on this ability for Russia to even influence.
It was an Instagram ad too for a while.
Oh. Well, you know that Instagram is owned by Facebook, right? Yeah, it tracks you around. They're clever. They know how this stuff works. Van?
Hello everyone, my name is Vane.
from Vietnam. I came to United States for a bachelor degree. I just graduated from USC, majoring in business administration, but my background is marketing. And I said that very long time ago when I was a little kid, I really love art, and I enrolled in art class. But my mom told me that it's just not for fun because you're not gonna make money out of it. So I stopped it. Never touched art for a very long time because I just graduated. So I think that now's a good time for me to learn something that I really love. And another reason that why I'm here because I really want to travel. I love traveling. I interned in Bangkok, Thailand for 2 months. I worked in Vietnam for a summer, and I also changed a career for a semester. So I really, really love traveling. So I think that what's the best way to travel around the world while making money. So I believe that UI UX can help me do that. Thank you so much.
Yeah, welcome.
Do you actually travel a lot? Is that part? I'm curious about that as well. Or is that it could be a thing?
I like to travel just on my vacation,
fun, right?
and like I think having. We'll talk about this later, but to be a good user experience designer, you have to engage in good experiences. Like that's part of the cycle. Like you can't sit at your desk and think you're going to be good at stuff. It's all about getting out in the world. You've got to be able to be active, and travel is one of those things, right? We are worldly for a reason, and you have to be able to kind of engage in that. And what was your favorite food? Yeah, it looks like cakes.
Asian food. I love all Asian food. But I love baking too.
Baking. Okay, great. Margaret?
Yeah, that's me. All right, so my background is I got a degree several years ago in comparative religion. Has nothing to do with what I do now. I work for a software company who makes project management software. And so I'm one of those people that you talked about just a few minutes ago about I'm the UX person for Project Insight. And then we realized, oh no, I'm not. I know nothing about you. So I know how to talk to people, I know how to ask them good questions, and that's about as far as I go. So I'm looking to fill in all of those other gaps
Great.
that you mentioned.
Now, talking to people is key. You know that we're going to be doing that. Like you can't, as I said before, it's impossible to do this job if you think that you know everything. Right? This is not about you. None of this is going to be about you. We're going to be spending a lot of time thinking about other people, engaging with them, and that is key. And what was your favorite food?
Gougere.
Gougere.
Yeah, it's like this little French biscuit of deliciousness.
Cool. Brett? That's me. It's like he knew. You regularly just hold food. Are you a food model? Are you a food model?
I'll give you the inside baseball why that's probably a good thing to laugh at. But I'm Brett. Actually got my degree in history, so I went to DePaul University in Chicago, and then I actually worked for an ed tech startup here in Los Angeles, actually Nelson Evans specifically. But I was inspired to get involved in this because my cousin, who still lives in Chicago, has been working for a radio company and has been doing design work for about 20 years. And then our head of UX UI actually kind of like almost cornered me a little bit, like 6-7 months ago, and was like, "What do you want to do? Like, what are you interested in?" And we formed kind of a better bond, and then just was really loving the work that he was doing for our company. And then we started talking about it. And he's actually, I texted him just at the very beginning of class. He was just like, "Badass." He's like, "Everything looks great. He's like, "We should have a great time." And like all exclamation points. So super excited to be here. So the inside baseball in that one is more than one picture of me holding Sriracha, but more so like a baby. And I can definitely show you guys that another time. And this is actually my work badge photo, just so you guys are aware.
Oh,
Anyway.
I loved badges, work badge photos.
You try Sriracha ketchup? I tried that for the first time. Good stuff.
It's okay.
I was like, can't
right.
compare this.
I mean, so interesting enough, the majority of people in my office actually love Sriracha, like not just me. So it actually works out really well. I don't have to bring my own to work. Convenient man bag or a first thing you guys to bring in. So anyway, that's me.
That's great.
Glad to be here.
Welcome. We won't get into the spicy foods yet, but maybe. We may have a spicy food.
Hello, everyone. My name is Marie. I guess we're talking background. I come from a sales background. I was in banking, and then somehow I ended up at LinkedIn, and then somehow I did not like what I did, even though the company atmosphere is amazing, and working for there is probably one of the best times I've ever had. But the job itself, I thought to myself, if I'm doing this at a different company, I would probably hate my life. I was in data analysis. So I had a lot of friends in design, which brought this to my attention. And since I graduated from UCI, I saw if they had similar programs, and it led me to this. And here I am. On that steak. I love the steak.
Welcome.
Thank you.
How boy?
It's okay.
I'm close. What? How do you pronounce it?
Pronounced but I go by Tina.
Tina.
Yeah.
Great.
My background is chemistry. I actually work in an environmental lab right now. I was in the lab, and then I ended up in management. And I guess driving force for coming here would be that I hate my job. Let's be honest. So I was looking for something new, and I wanted growth. So, you know, like everyone else, I like put my email in, and they just kept calling me. And then I was like, I'll call you guys back. Or no, we'll call you. So, yeah.
I like if you like. It sounds like people are being bullied. In the it's like you have no choice. We will keep calling you. Just take me off your call list. Okay. Well, it's good. You know, so everyone needs. Sometimes you need a kick. You know, a little nudge, right, to make the suggestion. So, welcome. Shelly.
Hi, I'm Shelly. I have a background in graphic design and art from Cal Pomona, and I've been a fashion designer for the last 11 years. The road has been pretty rocky if you guys follow the fashion market at all. So I just wanted to specialize a little bit more. You know, everybody needs UX UI design, so I figured this road would take me to, you know, other places. So that's what I'm here.
Welcome.
Thanks.
Pia.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Pia. Nice to meet everybody. So I come from an architecture background. I studied architecture at UC Berkeley as well as theater and design. So I included lighting, set design, costume. I basically after that had done everything. I've worked in construction. I have worked as an architect. Didn't end up liking it. Right now I'm working at Tory Burch doing like high-end retail, which is great, but want to get out of the service industry. I work also as a realtor, have my license, and I practice. And so I feel like a lot of what I've done in the past has been a lot of hands-on design. I've also done all the Christmas designing at Disneyland. So a lot of, if you go ever, I have a pass and everyone wants to come with me. I can show you what I've done there. But I've done a lot of, I guess, hands-on design, and technology is just the way of the future. And my fiance, he works in technology. He kind of pushed me in that direction because he's self-taught and has kind of pushed the value of it onto me. And I'm super for it, so that's kind of how I ended up here.
Is that you with a llama?
Yeah, it's a llama. I love llamas. I'm Chilean. And I mean, there's llamas and guanacos and all of that in Chile, and I love to travel. So I love seeing llamas at zoos. I love seeing llamas in person, like in nature. And that food I've actually only eaten once, but it was the best sandwich I've ever had in my life. It was in Patagonia. It's called, I actually have to look it up because it's a really weird name. It's called a chacarero. And it was just like layers of everything amazing, like bacon, steak, guacamole, tomatoes, aioli, like a sriracha
So
aioli.
it was like a BLT, but like better.
Yeah, it was so good.
They love their meats down in South
was
America.
so
They
good.
really do. It's like it's all about that stuff.
Yeah.
So welcome.
I went to Cal too.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Okay, did we get everyone? This isn't moving in.
I couldn't do it.
Oh, you couldn't do it.
My
This-
internet-
it's not working.
It's a good excuse to get a new computer.
Well, how about you just stand up and introduce yourself?
I'll do that. So hi, my name is Sophie Lee. I graduated from UCI from my undergrad as an Asian American Studies major, which ended up not
not been useful for anything. And then I ended up working in finance and got really burnt out. It's like really cutthroat. And I really wanted to do something creative, so I've been actually trying to become a web designer and pursue that on my own, but it wasn't enough trying to self-learn. And then this UI UX Bootcamp kind of popped up on my Google search, and then I just took the plunge, and I'm here to become a UI UX designer.
Great, welcome. And we have Stacy.
Nice. Because I couldn't really figure out how to use Illustrator.
That's
So
fine.
I would just go, yes, because like I don't have any design background, and right now I'm working at the IVF center, and that is like the medical field. So, but I've been working there for like 2 years for now, and in the last year, I would think like I'm only like 20 something, and I don't really want to stuck with this job because that's really like a routine job is really dead end, I think. So I start thinking like what can really like brighten out my life, and I was just like I really want to join the startup and to work with like the very like small group people. So I just kind of feel like maybe UX is that what is really needed right now. So I think that is the way that that's why I'm here now. Yeah.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Yasmin?
Yes.
Yeah.
Everyone is too small, sorry.
It's okay.
So my name is Yasamin Ratnakar. I have master's in industrial design, and I really like UX UI because I was deciding to go to PhD of design, but suddenly I just decided to not doing that. Education is enough right now. And so just want to do some startups. I have many good ideas. I want to know more about UX, and that's the reason why I'm here.
Great. Welcome. Did we get everyone else, or is there anyone?
I could, I just got my internet to work.
Okay. That's totally fine. Just stand up and introduce yourself. This is purely for the purpose of introducing yourself.
Okay, for sure.
So.
All right. So my name is Ryan. My background is actually in UCI history. So I kind of stumbled into this because for the last 4 years I've been working for a bunch of startups building landing pages and or websites for like SEO companies and stuff. By the way, never trust them. They're closed. All right. Well, anyway, yeah. So I saw an ad for this on Facebook. Yeah, I just wanted to handle that.
Yeah, I know. I don't work there. I mean, I have content strategist friends that work there. They're like, dude, we know we're winning. We know we're winning.
Definitely. So I clicked the link and then now I'm here.
Great. Welcome. Anybody else? We get everyone? Perfect. So welcome everyone, right? We're all here pursuing a similar thing. We all have interests in food. We like, what was your favorite food?
Oh, beer.
Beer. It's a perfect food. It travels with you. It comes in a really convenient carrier. I like that. It's like you really take that idea really granular. Okay, so we're all here together. There's, if you're learning software, we're going to be doing some things here, but there's a goal that we all want to kind of level set. We won't be able to train every aspect of software. There's much better tools and services that are out there even, and we'll point you in the right direction. We'll have varying levels of skill and output, sharing with each other, helping each other out, and the output. Internet and those things we'll figure out as we kind of move on. But one thing that I do want us to make sure that we're doing, don't sit in the same seat as you come into this class every day. There's some people to me as you move. I will force you to move if you do that. It's just the nature of this. And we'll get going. So I have a little bit left to kind of engage in that we're here, and we'll finish up the day. So let's get started on just a primer of what user experience design is. Now, UX is a process. And you always go to the big guys to kind of talk about these relationships, right? Steve Jobs. Everybody treats that man like a god. He was actually, if you read his book, he's kind of a dick. But he understood some things that most didn't. He understood that an experience was really important and was paramount in how software worked, right? He was not the only one who taught this, right? But he related things like design is funny, right? It's not how It's not how people think. It's not how it looks, right? It's not the aesthetic value of that thing, but it's how you use it, and it's how it works, right? You engaging in that thing is a byproduct of somebody's thought, somebody's output, and we engage in them thousands of times a day, and they are ubiquitous. How many of you have a smartphone? Okay. Travels around in our pocket. Like, this hasn't been around very long, right? It's kind of amazing. We kind of take it for granted, but it also changes how we think, how we design, how we engage in the world. How many of you can't get places without using Google Maps? Right? It's understandable, right? We do that. Now, there's some big hitters in the world of UX that you can start to become familiar with. Don Norman is one. I see that you have the Design of Everyday Things. Did you guys start reading that book?
Yes.
It's kind of nice. It's reminiscent of the early 90s and 80s. It's like those references about. He was like, a watch. He's talking about a watch. He spends 40 pages talking about doors. Why are you obsessing around this stuff? Now, he runs a group with Jacob Nielsen, who's famous for making the underline of a link blue. That's his standard. Yeah. Oh. Ooh, yeah. But user experience comes as all aspect of the end user. It's interaction with a company. It's a service. It's of a byproduct. It's first required, and an exemplary user experience meets exactly what the customer's needs are. If you don't know what your customer needs, it's very hard to design a feature, design a solution, make a screen, make an interface. It's impossible, right? Because you're just taking stabs in the dark, hoping that that's what they need, and that's not how it works. Now, for us, UX focuses on certain things, right? There's a paradox in UX is that what we dream of. Look at this thing. It's going to do this amazing output. It's going to have rockets. It's going to get you so far. And it's going to do A, B, C, and D, and E. And all your user really needs is a ring, right? And we keep thinking that including more and more interfaces into our world is the solution to problems. It's not necessarily. Sometimes the best solution is finding out you don't need that thing at all. And there's plenty of companies that actually are excited to learn that that was not worth spending money on. And you can prove that good thing you didn't waste millions of dollars putting that feature, putting that screen, and putting that website out, because you would have wasted your money, right? That in itself becomes part of the value add that you as a designer start to build. And it focuses on three primary aspects of the world. We'll focus on each of these things kind of relatively individually, but they overlap, which is the key, right? Which is business and understanding what they know, design, which is how the human engages in it and how users are active, and technology. Now, design, technology, and business all interrelate because without a business, you don't have a product. Without a product, you don't have a user. Without a user, you don't have an experience that you're trying to get that person to engage in and repeat. And part of what we engage in as we design is how those things work. Why do they work? What do we know about them? What are we going to engage in? And knowing these three have scales, right? Is there a technology that exists to allow that opportunity to be built for that business or for that output? And part of this will be keeping your thumb on the pulse of design. Now, there's a few goals in UX. One, there's the clarity. Good design should be honest. You're not trying to find things. It should be transparent what you're trying to solve. It's there as a helpful output. It's there as accomplishing what users need, and it's trying to build value for your user. It's trustworthy. Good design is trustworthy. It removes doubt in what the user thinks that they're doing. Have you ever canceled, quit a program and had stuff lose work? Yes. That should not exist in the world that we live in. It's insane. It's insane that the save is even a feature. It doesn't need it. It's so unnecessary. We know that that's not how the world works, right? We have cloud services that no data is ever lost ever. And the fact that we have to then go through actions, that's a remnant of really old thinking. But it still persists, right? It persists because we've trained people to do that. And they're like, oh, we need people to save. They have to save. File, save. Right? It proves people use it. It's a good feature. They use it all the time. They hit file and they hit save. That's necessary, right? But now we think about these, right? But trusting how systems work is about their reliability, right? It's reliable, and it's saving is actually an interaction that makes you feel good. going anywhere. I know exactly where it is. I saved it. There's familiarity, right? This also goes into things that we know. It's based on the real world. We engage in it. And it applies our understanding of the systems that are there and how we improve them. And when we really have good design, it's delightful. How many of you have been delighted by an interface? What was the interface you were delighted by?
Pick the iPhone.
Well, that's a big interface. Well, all of the things. What was like one feature that you were delighted? They stole one that I was.
Wait down to refresh.
Yeah, that one. Remember when it had the like. I made a sound. Just like, that's what my brain did when I pulled on it. It was like that thing that tugged and then it like created. It was like, oh. And then they killed it in new versions. And I'm like, what the hell are they thinking? Guys, those little moments are what UI designers freaking lose their mind over. Right? It was like, oh, I'm just refreshing all day. I'm just using that rubber band thing until it pops and then it does my refresh.
There was an app that had like an animation at the top or like a illustration when you pull it down.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Oh, Snapchat. God. Snapchat. Yeah. We'll talk about that later, but I was just like, oh, okay. So, but let's talk a little bit of history. Does anybody know who this is? Nope. I said Tim Berners-Lee.
.com.
Do you know anybody know who Tim Berners-Lee is?
Creator of the internet.
No. Third. Nobody knows. Did he invent Starbucks? No, he didn't. But he and his colleagues radically changed the way that which you do. He invented HTML. He was the inventor of the internet. Tim Berners-Lee created hypertext markup language, and he connected a server to a protocol, HTTP, and he did that in what year? What year was the internet invented? Don't Google it. 78? You're 78 out there? 81?
72.
Wasn't it like the 50s?
He doesn't look that old. He was probably born in the 50s.
He's not that old. Yeah, I mean, there were early stages of that, but in 1990, the internet was connected. It then scaled outside of government, ARPANET relationships of making missiles more efficient, which is really where the funding came. And that's how we got the systems that have radically changed our world, right? Not being able to connect to the internet like ruins a class. It's like, God, internet, right? It's like, you just like, when the internet goes down, you're like, life! You're going to get mad. Now, Tim Berners-Lee runs the World Wide Web Consortium. Has anybody ever heard of the W3C? Yes?
Like all this stuff you learn, you find CSS, HTML, like, you know, that's like it's like a resource.
They are the regulatory body, or like the organization that devises standards for how we code for the web. It is that organization that allows us that like every big corporation hasn't established their own standard, and we don't have like the internet wars. Like we don't have internet wars because they've established some standards that all companies that create for the web and build stuff use the same coding languages, use the same output, and use the same protocols. And it allows us to do that. Does anybody know who this guy is? The industrial designers, I'm hoping you will know that. No? It's fine if you don't. He invented the first laptop. It's here. It's the Grid. The Grid Compass was designed in 75. I can't remember what year it was. This is Bill Moygridge. He is kind of known as the grandfather of user experience design. He is a founder at the IDEO, which is a like design thinking consultant group out of San Francisco that has kind of forwarded user experience design and design thinking into agency, and they've had huge success with companies like Apple and Wells Fargo, and like just tons and tons. They're all over the place. Now he is kind of famous in the UX world because he invented this physical object, right? This thing that is now on our desks, right? A laptop computer. And he looked at the computer screen and he was like, God, this sucks. not good. It's like command line. You had to know how to talk to the computer. He knew that everyone was going to have one. He's like, we got to improve this experience. And part of that is what he helped with Apple. He helped Apple steal the GUI from Xerox PARC in '84, and we'll kind of talk about those things. He's a British industrial designer. He passed away, and he also ran he was the director of the Cooper Hewitt. Is anybody familiar with the Cooper Hewitt Museum? If you're not, it's fine. It's like focused on design and designed objects, and they're like an archive and a museum dedicated to the thinkers and the people that design in this world. He's kind of famous for saying, what makes humans special is that we can model the world and then we can predict the future. What's nice about that is we can imagine that the world does not have to be the way it is. UX allows us to kind of think about this, but the world can change and we can evolve from that. Now, we were here, right? We're here in 2017. Everybody with me? We're in 2017? Right? Now, maybe a lot of your clients are going to be stuck like here in like the 2000s. Like, can we make a Flash site? They'll ask that. Oh, it's nice. Man, if I learned so much Flash when I was growing up, when I was going to school, if I could have just translated all those skills into like SDK and Apple, I wouldn't be here, I can tell you that much. But learning to code, it's all there. The tools change all the time. Like my entire thesis project is in Flash. I could never show this to anyone ever again. It's like this like weird relic that I'll be able to find later. Now, when we talk about user experience design and UI, which is user interface, there's some things that we want to kind of engage in. One, UI and UX build things for people. We're human-centered. We're not designing. You could design things for dogs and stuff, but usually humans are the ones that are buying those things for dogs. Until we figure that out, we're living in a world. But there's these 4 factors, right? The people, the technology, the design, and the business. Right? I said UX was just the technology, the design, and the business. We really add this extra layer of humans involved because we really need to care about what they do and how that engages. Now, you'll see a lot of Venn diagrams like this in the world of UX. We love to put ourselves at the middle of diagrams. Oh, it just makes us feel so important. It's like, oh, do you see that? I'm at the middle of the diagram. I am the most important. I'm here. Look, none of you know how to do this. I'm there. That's me. Mostly it's just a really simple visual, and it makes it really simple to do that. But there's opportunities to do this. Now, what we're going to do in understanding how UX and UI work together is that there's kind of 4 factors that you can kind of consider in why something is working, right? And everything goes through these cycles. One is the utility. What users want. Like, how is that thing useful to the user, and does it meet their needs? That's level 1. If your thing doesn't meet that, your product or your solution is mute, right? It's like, it doesn't do what I need it to do. I'm never going to use it, right? The next layer is that product usable? It meets my needs, but I can easily get to the thing that it's supposed to do. It's clear. I know what the button to touch. I'm communicated in a way that's meaningful. And then there's like, it looks nice. It's designed well. It's clear. The colors, the typography, the imagery, the stuff that I know how to do, all is there. And then it's wrapped in this outer layer, which is the brand, right? Now, a brand is a bigger idea, but they can, if your brand makes a product that has no utility, how do you feel about that brand? Not good, right? You're like, God, this brand, whatever. I don't care if it's Nike. That doesn't work. It has no utility to me as a user. It doesn't help, right? But there's this scale that, as we think about these things, work. So let's consider like Gmail, right? How many of you use Gmail? Everybody raises their hands, right? Yahoo is like. Oh, and they're never going away either. Whatever. Marissa Meyer's gonna just suck that place dry. It's fine. It's just so funny to see what they're gonna do. They're gonna sell to like Verizon or something like that. He's just there to like. That was it. That was their whole purpose. Like, I'm gonna level this playing field and then sell it to somebody. My investors will be happy. But Gmail works kind of like this, right? The utility is that a user needs to communicate, and Google supplies the utility of writing emails that you can send and then you can receive. Like, that's its core component. The communication chain. The utility works. How many of you use Gmail every day? How many do you think the utility of Gmail works? Works fine.
Works fine.
Great. Right? Then there's the usability, right? You know how to author an email. You know where to hit the button to send an email. You know how to store them and move them around. You know what that means. How many of you like the usability of Gmail? How many of you have hundreds and hundreds of emails in your Gmail?
Thousands. I didn't check my email for like 3 years.
Oh, wow. Luxury. Everyone's like,
I mean,
whoa, I would love that.
It's not my only email address.
No, that's so great. I love that. Right, but it tries to help you. There's a usability component that is about organizing and structuring that kind of information. There's desirability. If you desire to use Gmail, oh my God, I can't wait to use Gmail. I love it so much. Like, whoosh. Actually, that's not even Gmail. It's just.
I mean, there was that push of, like, if you were going to try for jobs, don't have it .aol or at AOL at the end of your email.
Oh, yeah.
So the idea was, don't have Hotmail, don't have AOL. Okay, Gmail's pretty respectable. You know, that's the one you can apply for jobs with.
That's not just happenstance. That's like all marketing. Like, you have an AOL? No one's gonna hire you with that.
What year
What
did that
was it
come
like?
from?
Sexy 69? No. If that is your email, but just keep it. Let that one ride. Just let that one ride. That's perfect. And then there's the brand experience, right? The brand experience for Google is wrapped up in a much larger layer. How many of you use other Google services? Calendar.
System, full,
G Drive. Maps. YouTube. Photos. Translate.
Everything.
Google. Anyone use Google Trends?
Google Trips. Google Trips.
Analytics.
Google Analytics.
Translated.
You get my point. Google Now is one of my favorites because it's just like whatever. Give me the stuff I want. I don't need to do searching. Just tell me about that UX thing I didn't learn about today. It's great. Oh, Trump's a jerk. Awesome. Now, what we're gonna do, we're gonna do this really quickly. So everybody get out a sheet of paper. Get in groups of 2, and we're gonna do this for an app that's on your phone. It doesn't matter which one it is. Just choose it quickly. So 2, yeah. Divide your page into 4 aspects, and we're just going to write quickly these aspects, right? Introduce yourselves, and write the utility, what makes that app usable, what makes that application desirable, and what makes that application's brand experience Just open your phone, and the first thing you see, just open that one and say, cool, this is the one that I'm going to choose. Okay. Most of you have an application that you use all the time. It doesn't matter what it is.
Discoverability, finding being able to apply.
Maps it is.
Yeah, based on your taste, exactly.
Got it. Facebook, perfect. You guys using maps? Waves? Netflix, got it. Spotify, awesome. Yes. Everything red.
All that is
Start at the utility level, and then move down.
Play, pause.
Chill. Usability or desirability? Oh. So what's the brand? What's the brand experience? But are you more likely to use other people's flyers? Like, are you more likely to like watch another Netflix show? Recommendations, okay? There's shares. The larger brand experience, right? By knowing that you can treat you as knowing that it's content that's
highlights, I don't know, tweet would be like the show, but yeah, so it's yeah, I feel like desirability, like I feel like all that simplicity of it kind of makes you like you're also overwhelmed. So like, oh, like, am I saying how quickly and so all this stuff is like social aspect of like the cross-platform thing when you get like, you know, not turn away. Good point. Apple, not just music, right? What's been going on exactly? So it kind of keeps you like current with the news.
Lesser known reality also.
Does everyone have their forest aspect stuff? It's pretty close. I just want to go quickly and just list the apps that we're interested in. It's totally fine. Like we're running out a little bit of time. I wouldn't go around to each of us. We have like 10 minutes. Just yell at what app you chose. Just Spotify. YouTube. Okay. Waze. Okay, there's the Facebook. There was a flashlight one over there. Flashlight, yeah.
Oh, that was a great one.
Spotify. WhatsApp. Maps. Amazon. What else?
We chose Robin
Robin
Hood.
Hood. Okay. YouTube. Okay. Anything else? What? LinkedIn. Okay. Now, All these are pretty common, right? Big companies, LinkedIn, Photoshop, Google, Amazon, they're like the biggest, they're like industries of titans that we are now like using every day, and they only grow stronger by the minute. Now, that's part of that is because they've designed the things and they've followed through on their promise from utility to brand experience. We unconsciously start to trust them in ways that we like never would have trusted a brand ever before in the past. And we carry it around in our pocket. No one said just like Apple, just fine. Now all these things are run through a platform, right? It's only because you have that thing and you operate half of these outputs. Does anybody know what Apple takes? What their take is on an iPhone app? 30%. 30%. Correct. Apple loves that. They're like, keep using LinkedIn on your iPhone. It's great. We'll take 30% of that all day long. Just keep it coming. Pile it this way, right? Now, we benefit from some of those things over time, but they're there. Now, we'll be engaging in this idea over and over again of like how do we engage to that point? And we'll learn by starting at the point of utility. You can't make utility. You can't make your thing work, right? By building utility, we'll then engage through to UI, which designs out to output. Now, in designing, UX and UI overlaps a ton of skills. It is an umbrella. It is not a target, right? There's a ton of this. We'll go over this next week, but there's a lot of roles inside of this, including interaction design and human-computer interaction design, and usability, and communication design, industrial design. Design. It's like all the services of design is like, I can do UX. Sure, just call me a UX designer. We do it all. We can do it all, which is fine, right? But the overlapping skills at their core drive along one thing, which is they're fundamentally underpinned by design thinking. That's why we had this discussion around design thinking and design, right? Now, design thinking is a methodology that we will be going through this class a few times. This is the IDEO model, which is kind of, they were the pioneers at some point. They were not the only ones to start doing this. They just scaled it into the Stanford B School. If you're not familiar with the Stanford B School, it's fine. Most of the exercises were just like, thanks, we're going to be doing those. But design thinking has existed for a long time, but they've just been able to translate it into a business model and use and work their clients through that. And we ourselves will be going through the process. From understanding, to empathizing, defining, ideating, prototyping, and testing. This will happen a few times as we go through the quarter. And every project that you do will have a 2-week cycle of this as well. So there's like a couple cycles. Exercises we'll do along the way will help you in that. And if you learn this, you can then tell your stories through this cycle. It's so great to work with designers that are like, where are you in the process? You're like, oh, we're in the prototyping stage. Like, great. How many user tests have you done on your prototype? They're like, oh, we haven't gotten there yet. Like, oh, I can help you with that. Here's where I can help you get feedback faster. I know how this works. I know what ideas or thinking that you're trying to do, and be up to speed quickly. This is visualized in a number of ways. This is the British double diamond thinking model, which you'll see that this is run out of the Hyper Island School. It's a Scandinavian education model that like does. Every semester you do a different role, so you get a real like overall view of what that is. This will work kind of like a studio. That's the core of how this class is kind of engaged. But design thinking is in the process. In the double diamond, you have these cycles, and this is just one. You'll see this it feels like every design firm visualizes this in a little bit tweaked way, right? It's like, oh no, ours is different. We brainstorm. It's ideating. It's the same thing. Like just there are words that we use that are different that are there. But when it comes to user experience design, it operates as this big umbrella, as I was saying before. Sometimes it's visualized as a tree, right? The trunk of the tree is the user experience design, and the branches go out to different things, from industrial design to information design to visual design to user research. But we also are underpinned in the soil by human factors, by psychology, by graphic design and typography, by color, by art, by all these things that kind of feed this. Now, we'll learn all these things along the way, but the core of what we do is we're trying to coalesce how all those fields, all that information is valid for designing and solving human-centered problems. And I like to say that like your tree dies if you don't have design thinking. Just like it's the air, it's the water, it's the sun, it's the foundation for how we go this. And the process is what we'll lean on. You're like, I don't know where this is going. It's fine. Sometimes it'll feel a little, you're like, I don't know what the solution is yet. You're like, you got to go through empathizing first to figure out what you're doing. You got to get through understanding and observing and building on those pieces, and that's what we'll do. Because design thinking is at its foundation driving into the core of what UX does and how we think about people, about businesses, and about technology. We know that they are integrated. We know they all influence each other. But by using the process, by testing how a technology changes how people engage or work in the world, we can then change in ourselves. And this, again, is like an IDEO visualization. I'm sure they love to show this in front of CEOs. I'm like, this is what we're going to do. We're going to drive design thinking into the core of your innovation. And they use the I word probably entirely too much, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with the I word. I just think a lot of people are like, it's so innovative. We got rid of a button. That's so great. But when we look at the journey, this is what it breaks down into essentially 3 sections, right? We have the UX section, which we're going to be doing for the first 7 weeks here, which you're started on already, which is learning the foundation of user experience design. We're going to do some research. We're going to understand users. We're going to build paper prototypes, sketching. And that results in the first project, which is a 2-week thing. We'll group up, we'll solve a problem through paper prototyping and getting that out there. We'll then jump into doing visual design, how to create systems, how to think about atomic design, relate the visual and build high-fidelity prototypes that we kind of scale and put into our output. We'll test those things to kind of evolve them. And those then become things that we can translate into physical code. We'll learn some basics of HTML and CSS and JS as a way to know what the capabilities are. Code is hard. I am not the world's greatest coder. I'm enough to be dangerous so that the developers I work with are like, just don't touch it. Just give me what you need. Give it. But I know what is possible as well, and so I can actually be like, that is really lazy. I know you can do a better job. I know how this actually works. This needs to be a great experience through these needs, right? And by knowing how to communicate, knowing what is possible, you can say, great, if this is too hard, how do I fix it so it's not too hard? How will it be easier, which still maintains the core of the experience, but answers our users' problems, answers our output, and fits within the cycle that we're trying to design in. In the end, we'll design a website that's responsive so we get the sense of how that works, and you'll put together a portfolio that encapsulates both your assignments, your exercises, and your projects, and then we'll kick you to the curb. No, we won't. We will send you off, and hopefully these kind of tasks and this kind of storytelling and ability will give you an output to send into the world. And I was on the time. Nice. Boom. So it'll feel like this, right? Yeah? Be excited? There's a ton of resources. There's a bunch in this document that's here. I will put some other stuff in there. We'll be sending out, as I was saying before, reading is going to be the undercurrent. They won't necessarily go along with a lot of your exercises. Assignments and homeworks are really about executing the stuff that we're doing in class. And you're going to have to hold on. There's a lot of content to take in, a lot of information to engage in. But if you hold on and you start soaking it in, you'll get farther than you could before. So we'll see you this Thursday. Yeah, this is in 2 days.
So all the PowerPoint's going to be...
Yes, I've already uploaded the PowerPoint to, it's a PDF to GitLab, and that stuff is there. We'll get your internet and all that stuff working. And
if you have any
other
issues
things.
with internet, GitLab, anything like that, let me know.
Everyone.
Thank you.
And then this will also be up on GitLab. The recording will be there.
Are you guys keeping our name tags or are we bringing them back?
I think we're keeping the name tags.
Yes, keep your name tags.
Oh.
Bring them every class.
Okay.